Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning if you're in a different time zone. Welcome to Salesforce Service Cloud training webinar. This webinar would be a three episode series where we would be deep diving into different features of Service Cloud. And I'm your coach or the master of this masterclass. My name is Bibhu. I'm working as a technical architect for AFDigital. Will be taking you through a lot of different features of Service Cloud. At the end of each session, we'll also have some time for any Q&A. So feel free to post your questions so that I can look at them and answer them at the end of the session. So let's get started. Okay, so Salesforce Service Cloud training that is powering your omnichannel customer service experience. Okay, but it's lagging. Yeah, okay. Here is the agenda for today's discussion. There will be a brief introduction of myself and what is a masterclass. What is it all about? I'm going to talk about that. Then we will go into some basics about Salesforce, and we will establish what are the different lingos that Salesforce world we use. Then we deep dive into a particular component called Service Cloud, and then we look in some basic building blocks. Then we do an overview of what is that you can expect out of today's session, and a demo on directly on the platform where we'll see a lot of things happening within that. Okay, who am I? Now, you think this is I am? No, I'm not that old. I'm a young person, but then I just want to be like this person. Still in my dreams, I'm in the path, but I'm trying it. So in short, this is my experience. I have 9+ years of Salesforce experience. For everybody's purpose, I've started as a very basic CRM associate consultant back in 2010. And now I've become a technical architect by reading a lot of Salesforce, doing a lot of Salesforce projects throughout my career. As I said, I have had experiences in various CRMs, including Civil CRM, Microsoft Dynamics, and Salesforce. I do take pride in having a lot of Salesforce certifications, and I've really burnt a lot of midnight oils and throughout the day oils to get those certifications through my work and my studies. I already have said it, like currently I'm working as a technical architect with AFDigital, which is a Sydney-based company, if you guys don't know. Okay, let's deep dive in. What is this masterclass? What is it, and who is this masterclass for? I know this masterclass, as I said, is a series of 3 webinars talking about the very common use cases in Salesforce Service Cloud implementation and how to use them. This is going to run every Wednesday from starting now, from today, 1 p.m. AEST, for next another 2 Wednesdays. And who is this masterclass for? You could, there is a plethora of materials that are available online today to talk about how to configure, how to set up Service Cloud. But I have found that, in my day-to-day basis, when we meet different clients, they do have a peculiar requirement where they need to understand how to use the system, not only to configure the system. Yes, admin part is important, but once we deliver that project, how to use that system properly and get the best out of the system to establish and increase the productivity of their resources. That's why it is who part is important, that you are a business user who has recently done a Salesforce Service Cloud implementation and not sure, no, you did your training, but then not sure how to use that. So this training is for you. And you might have done your Service Cloud sometime back, and then now you have some new users, but then you don't have enough training materials available at your disposal. So you need a refresher on Service Cloud, or you want to retrain or train some of your user. Or you could be also completely, in a difficult position like currently we are. The whole world is in COVID-19, where you have to go in and have remote working systems, and you might be getting a lot of requests from your customers to do a lot of things, and so you might be evaluating what are my options rather than how I collaborate with my different users. How do I track all those service cases? Should I just continue to use my Excel, or are you evaluating Service Cloud implementation? So if you are evaluating, then it is also a good training platform for you today to understand what you can, what you cannot do. Of course, not everything would be discussed today, but over the period of next two sessions, we will cover a lot of details of Service Cloud. So the key question to start with: what are Salesforce clouds? You probably this is a common terminology that a lot of people hear in the client side. Okay, there is Salesforce. They talk about Sales Cloud, they talk about Service Cloud, they talk about so many clouds, and everybody gets confused. Okay, why there are so many different clouds? It's so what are those clouds? So here it is. Like we talk about the customer at the center, and you can see there are so many different clouds: Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud, and so many different other clouds that we have. Essentially, it is the many of the components is on the same server, same platform, but it has been categorized into different clouds to make it evident for who is the user for accessing that application or accessing that part of the component. So just to give you an example, like Sales Cloud is something that contains your sales process. Like you have leads, you have opportunities, you have accounts and contacts. You might have contracts. You might also have order to cash. So all those features are part of Sales Cloud. So they categorize it, they make it a bundled, already pre-packaged product which is available and that is ready to be used. All of this, if not all, most of these, like Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Community Cloud, all these parameters of Salesforce are hosted or are built on the platform itself. It's a single platform. Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud, all these are different clouds which Salesforce, acquired different companies over its part of the journey, and they have integrated all those clouds to make sure the customers are getting their end customers view in a 360-degree purpose. But there is a lot to discuss about Salesforce clouds. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on it, because if I start discussing of that, that might take whole day to discuss about what are the features. But the purpose of today's webinar is to discuss about particularly about Service Cloud. So this is what we are going to discuss more and more detail. Of course, there will be a few basic building blocks that I will be talking about, but that's the core part. So without understanding that, it is definitely not possible for everybody to understand what I am or what are the lingos that I'm going to use in Service Cloud. So then next is we go in the Salesforce in the Salesforce Cloud, within the Service Cloud itself. What are the different features? What are the different things that we're talking about? So as I said, like in Sales Cloud, I gave you the example of lead and opportunities. Similarly, when we go to Service Cloud, this is about your customer service. So when you're servicing your customer, you have different points. You get a service request, you then serve it, and then you have a call center who is managing those service requests, and you might be running some reports, or you might have different sources from where this customer are reaching out to you. So that is what is Salesforce Service Cloud serves you for. It gives you that container where it has all those bits and balls where you can use the application to get the most productivity out of your agents. At the same point of time, you're giving your customer a very good service. So it's a win-win situation for both the companies and their end customers. And the best part in all this is having all those embedded functionalities and the whole time to market itself, like how long you're going to take to set up this, how long it's going to manage this. This is very quick to market, so you can set up all this in a very quick manner and get the benefit out of it. I think this probably this particular time why we are doing this training and why the purpose behind it is probably to help you guys understand if you are currently having those issues, having this trouble of managing different customer service requests and with your kind of distributor team, then this is probably one of the platform that you could consider now and leverage some of the features which is very standard and very quick to configure, and then go to it to market, and then at least make the best out of this. So as you can see, there are so many components to it. Like we probably would more focused on agent console, and there'll be some with the live messages, omni-channel routing and supervisor. I'll definitely discuss about all of them while over these 3 sessions. The service journey, you could have your social customer service. And sales service is a community. It's a whole different discussion, a whole different kind of package product again. So that product would be discussed in a separate session itself. And you also have some AI capabilities using service bots, where you can automate a lot of your conversation with your customer and automate a lot of processes within Salesforce to increase, again, the productivity of your agents and the fast servicing of your customer itself. So what are, as in, like, if we jump into the environment or the concept of Sales Cloud or Service Cloud, or as such in the Salesforce, it is basically, it's a very common theme that you have to probably now put in your mind how this is structured. So when you log into let's say Salesforce, then what you see, what you do, you probably first buy your licenses. That's first thing you do from your Salesforce. Then they enable you on one organization. So organization means the license that you have purchased that is associated with your organization. And then it comes to the discussion, like you could have application. Don't worry about everything now, because I'm going to show you in the real time what it is, how it is, and what is the difference about all them. But just think in a kind of a diagrammatic manner, which is you're having your subset or superset of information. So one organization, if you look at this diagram, could have multiple applications. So application is just a subset of the organization. And then what is an application? Application is something that consists of tabs. So I'll show you what are the tabs. And the tabs are essentially the object. So one-to-one thing, like every, that's called account. Account is something as referred as an object in Salesforce, but then we convert that into a tab, and the tab is exposed where you can click on it and then see information about accounts. And once we have those objects, then it comes to the level of details of fields, and then we know what are the kind of finer details within that object. One of the key, I think, analogy that I usually give to my customers and to make them understand what are these things is refer to an Excel sheet. So once you open an Excel sheet, you would have different sheet names. So one sheet would be, let's say, called account, and the next sheet probably you would call it as a contact. And then the third sheet, you will be naming that as a case. So all those items, like once you have accounts as a sheet, so in that sheet itself, you have, think about those cells that you have in your Excel. It could have columns. So once you have those columns, you name something on, let's say, first column, you write first name. Second column, you write last name. Third column, you write email address. Then go back and think about, you have so many different customers, that you in your database. So what you do is that you go and write the first row and fill in the first name, last name, email address. Then you go to the second row, which is again, you fill in first name, last name, and email address. There are the two different records. So that is what we call in Salesforce world as well. They are referred to as two different records. And the analogy that I gave you about those columns are fields. So in total, those records and the fields together, they compose kind of, the object and the tab that we're talking about. So that particular sheet that I have referred, that is a one object. And then think about the next sheet, that is one more object, exactly similar structure, there is one more object. But think about all these objects, there is multiple sheets that you have created within that Excel, master Excel, that is your application. If you create multiple Excels and having those, categorize the things within that Excel, that is your one Excel master sheet is an application for you. You could have, the same information of one sheet in the other application as well. You could copy that in there and then reuse it. But the whole concept is like, having that Excel, keep that in your mind so that it makes, whenever I'm talking about objects or tabs and fields and records, you could relate them to that Excel. I'm pretty sure most of my listeners are very familiar with Excel and how it operates, how you create a record in it. And there are a lot of securities as well that Salesforce enforce on this object level, at the field level, at the record level, so that you could leverage the beauty of the security model that is already available and make sure that you're restricting the access or enabling your users to only access the information that they should be looking at. So I think it's very important at this generation now that we reserve the security of each record or each information that we're capturing in Salesforce. Particularly think about the situation where now there is GDPR or there is a HIPAA compliancy on healthcare, all those items there. So to be able to secure your data is definitely a very important feature, and Salesforce definitely take care of it really well and makes it easy for a lot of admins to manage it really well as well. We'll not deep dive into the security concept because today's this session's focus is more on the usage of the application, but I thought you should just know how secure the platform is and what are the level of security that you could probably think about putting within this platform. So let's deep dive into the Service Cloud model that we have been talking about, because the core purpose of today's call is the service delivery framework or how you can manage this in your platform. So this is a very high level, and if you think about the framework, this is probably consistent across different industries, across different companies. There may be some variations in it, but then at a very high level, this is what happens. When I'm saying case creator, that's probably, it's a terminology that I use or we use from our Salesforce ecosystem. But then, in your industry or in your company, you might call it as a service request or ticket or incident. I don't know, like there could be multiple terminologies that you could use for the same the container. We just call it case. So if we think about this approach, like what are the things that we do in here? So the first thing is case getting created. So what happens, like, under that framework, what is that you do? You have various channels. You might have phone, your email, web, chat, live message, or you're probably, giving access to your customer portal where they're able to create a case. Creating a case with some, you can create some case with the different values. Then you have some of the terminologies that we use in Salesforce world. You will hear that global action, quick actions. I'm going to show you what are those again, I refer back to the same concept, like you are running a call center or a support center, you definitely want to increase your productivity, your agent's productivity, your consultant's productivity, and Salesforce offers you a lot of features within the platform by default to make those or to enable you to have an increased productivity. We are definitely going to talk a lot about the productivity enhancement features, how there are different things that can be taken care of. But let's go into the delivery framework next step, which is once it is created, what is next? You have your phone, you have your email, your web. So many sources from where cases coming in. If not all these channels, you're probably going in and manually creating a case. So okay, so all these things are done. But what is next? It is really important for any customer that once the case is created in the system, it goes to the right person, because you want, again, this is what the efficiency, right? So when you're creating a case, when you're creating a service request, if it is not assigned to the right person, then it goes a merry-go-round, right? So it's like it goes to one person, then, hey, this is not me. Okay, transfer that to another one. Think about a scenario when you make a call to a company, a service, a customer service of any service provider, and you talk to them. Okay, hey, this is my issue. They ask you, okay, what's the issue? You discuss about an issue and you discuss about it for 5 minutes or maybe 3 minutes, let's say, and after that, hey, this is not me. I have to transfer this call to another department. This is such a typical scenario in many industry, and I personally hate it. Like, I have to again go to another person and explain it. Like, I don't hate the fact that the person is understanding my request and transferring it, but I hate the fact that I have to explain everything again to the same person, another person. Like, that's such a waste of time, such a waste of agent's time, such a waste of call center time. So that's why it is like an assignment rule comes in place where it makes it there is automation in the background which assigns the case directly to the right agent. Um, and the extension of it is omnichannel. There's a feature in Salesforce which enables that routing of your cases into the right agent with having the right skill and the right capacity. So it automatically routes that, and then I'll show you how to use that feature and get all those cases in your bucket and then operate on it. Then another thing comes in, like right, auto response. Like, currently the time we are in a very critical time where you probably are getting bombarded with a lot of emails, a lot of a lot of people are going onto your web pages and then submitting requests. So if you don't have a, let's say, bot to respond to them on your website, at least having something as an auto response, if it's not only necessary in this critical time, it is definitely necessary in most of the places, but I'm just giving an example that this critical time, how important it is that you have a proper framed auto response. What auto response is, like, you don't have, as in, like, let's say if somebody sends an email at 9 o'clock or 9 p.m. in the evening, there is nobody in your call center team who are there to support that. You need to tell that to your customer that, okay, hey, our customer center is closed and we will respond you back within this many days or this many hours or whatever. And that gives an comfort, that gives a comfort to your customer that, okay, yes, I've sent an email, it landed in the right place and it will be taken care of. And now I might have to be a little more patient and understand, okay, the call center is operating, I'll have to wait till this many time. So it's again comes back to the point of communication and communicating that to your customer, making sure that they understand what is the expectation after I submit or after I hit the enter to send an email. Then another point comes in is changing the ownership. Like, as I said, like, sometime if you are not working on it, your supervisor is there, how you can change the ownership of the particular case to assign it to the right person. Or sometimes it happens like, you have to transfer it to a department. You would have got something in case, and then you change the ownership of that case to the right team so that they take the ownership and they resolve that case. So that's at a high level, it's assignment. You created the case, then you assign the case to the right agent. Once it is assigned, the next step is, of course, you work on that case to resolve the case. What do you do to resolve? What are the components that we have in Salesforce to resolve a case? Uh, Obviously, this is not exhaustive list of things, but then this is just a high level points. What you could do, you could send an email, to the customer by understanding, okay, this is what it is, and then you send an email, okay, or maybe you'll ask for more information, or you just send an email and get the information, and that, okay, this is already resolved. Then you change the status so that your supervisor and others know that, okay, you are working on it, and you take the case through its life cycle. So the case is created, it's new, then you go to an in progress, then you go to a on hold, or you're waiting for customer feedback. It's customizable, like it could change based on your industry, based on your company, how you operate as a business. But then I hope you understand that this is at a high level how the service delivery framework works. So while resolve, you could do some collaboration with your teammates. You could also transfer the case to a different department, and you respond to the customer. And another key component in that is knowledge. So there is a knowledge base kind of there in Salesforce, where you increase again to the efficiency of your agents to understand what they need to do to resolve a particular case. Because there are some champions, they already know how to resolve typical cases, typical service requests quickly, and you don't have to train your new users all the time. They have your knowledge base there. System suggests you, okay, this is the knowledge base that might be helpful for you, and then I'll talk about it, how the knowledge would make sense to your customer service team itself, how it will help you guys to faster the process or increase the productivity again. And once all things are done, what do? You finally close the case. You close the case, you populate the close reason, and then there might be some business process for reopening under that closing section. It again varies across different clients, and then finally you send a survey out of your closing process. Because you're serving your customer, it's always good to get a survey out of your service. I'm pretty sure a lot of clients would be interested in doing that, and then I have seen a lot of my clients already doing it. It's again, you decide what is the volume of survey that you're going to send, whether it's particular cases. All these things can be automated within from the platform to send those surveys and get back. So the final step is getting the feedback from the customer. So what you're doing, you're closing the loop. So the loop has opened when the customer sends you the case, and then finally, once you get the feedback, you're actually closing the loop there. That's called, this is what you're doing, and you sending the survey, you're capturing the feedback, you're doing some NPS on it, you're doing reporting, and then based on the feedbacks that you're getting from the customer, you are improving your service and you're training. You might have to train your agents, or you have to do something else. There could be so many strategies, but all boils down to one point, is that you are being customer centric. And today's world, if you are not customer centric, it is really, really difficult to exist in the ecosystem. And you could see it is even more important now to have a digitally enabled system for your customer centricity, because now the time is where you can't interact with your customer. I know this is probably a typical situation, but then this is an eye opener for a lot of business, that they go and have the right digital strategy. So if you're not in that journey, then you probably is like, you probably at a stage where you're getting disrupted by others. So the course today, at the end of today's session, the objective of mine is that, like, you'll be able to access the application. You know how to access Salesforce. You could tell the difference between a Lightning app versus a console app. I'll talk to you. You might hear about all those terminologies again sometime in your lifetime, when if you have purchased Salesforce or you're using Salesforce. Understand what a case is, which I've briefly touched upon what a case is from Salesforce point of view. then we understand more into different components of the Service Cloud. You should be able to leverage the benefit of the Service Console, and then you know how to create a case manually, and you should be able to assign a case and change ownership again manually. Uh, in subsequent sessions, we'll deep dive in and then talk about a lot of more sophisticated features. But then I thought probably today's session should be good start for us to get in and then start understanding the basic blocks of Service Cloud. So let's I think the next is demo. So without doing further delay, let's jump into the demo itself. I will log in here. Probably we just have to. I'll show you how to log in. Okay. So you can see, so there are two different things. Like Salesforce has so many different environments. Like it could be test environment, could be login. You could have your own domain name, but I'm just using a generic domain name. I've already logged in, but just for the purpose of understanding for you all, this is how you log in. I think here you go in. Obviously, I have all this details stored, but then you can enter your username, password, and then hit login. That will log you in. And as soon as you log in, you can see I've landed at a page where I have things open. And why it is so? Because this is again one of the beauty of Salesforce Service Cloud, that it remembers everything that you have done before. So if you have opened your multiple tabs for multiple service requests and you closed your application, or you're timed out, it's not going to kind of take you back and then enable you to rethink, okay, where was I, what was that I was doing. All these things are already open in your the same session, so that we go back and then use it. But let's jump into different sections of this page itself, what it is. So first you see is a kind of a button here. We call it an app launcher. So you could see that app launcher is here. So in this app launcher, so what we do is you can click on it. It shows you a lot of different applications that we have. You can have service, you could have service marketing, community content. So you can see, so there's so many, but then if you click on view all, it will show you different applications that we have. You could configure as many applications as you want, but then these are essentially applications. And if you want, let's say, one application you most frequently access that, you could drag it and then put it here, so that I did not. It's here. So now it is my top app. So because I access this so often. So you can see there is two basic different applications here. Is one service console, one service. So I'll open first service so that you understand what is the Lightning. So if you go back to our objective, that having a difference between the Lightning app and the console. So this is a Lightning app. I'll show you what is Lightning app. And here you can see there are tabs here, and this is what we call tabs. This is an account. This is a contact, cases. So you have same things, but then they are on a kind of on a header, and you have different tabs in here. You go into individual ones and then look at it. That's a plain Lightning application. Here it serves all the purpose that you need. You could access them. So it boils down to what is your mode of operation. You could use this application and leverage the same functionalities that we are going to leverage in other parts of the business, other parts of the application. But I'll tell you also a slight different from the call center point of view, how it makes, because how it is imperative, or it's very, very, very important for the agents to be more productive, because every second, every call every minute itself. It counts from the call center point of view. There are KPIs around it. So you need to make sure that your agents are as productive as possible. This gives you what you need, but then this is not something that will increase your productivity. So that's the reason why we Salesforce have another way of presenting the information that's called Service Console. So if I type it in here and then I go into Service Console, you will see the basic difference where the tabs were there on the top. Here the tabs are here as a drop down. Here you have all this. That is not the only difference. You will see the beauty of it once we go in and then open a case and see how things are. In a single screen, you are having so many different features. So it's like this tab, this is allowing me to have multiple cases, multiple service requests open at the same point of time. Your agent could have even more. They don't have to go even here. They could click on from here and just open another tab, So it's you're clicking on and then having a lot of tabs open, and at the same point of time you're probably working on multiple cases, and that is how you increase. One of the ways to increase the productivity of your agents, that easy switching between the cases and not forgetting what they already had done on a particular case. Unless they want to close it once they are happy, okay, everything that I have to do, I have already done, I am just closing it. So we'll go in detail of this individual components, what are the different components within the page, but let's go and have another look at something at here, the first page. When you come into the case, what is it? Like, what are the common things that you have? So this is first what we call as these things are called as list views. As you can see, we call it list views. This is a very flexible way of grouping or bucketing your cases. So that's all your service requests and everything. So it's, I have created some, but you can create your own. There's some standard ones like my cases, my open cases, recently viewed and recently viewed cases. These are very common. That comes from by default from Salesforce. And if you want to customize them or have different filters for them, different fields for them, you could do that. And let's see how we could do it. You could see there is case number, contact name, subject. This is probably giving you a snapshot of the cases that you have and what are the details, what are the different stages that they are, what is the priority, and when was it opened, and who is the case owner. But let's say, as your business, you think this is not all that I want. I want something extra in this view. What is that? Like, I go in here, I see there is obviously some features here. So on this, if I click on this cog icon, it shows me some of the things here. So my objective here now is to expose one more field in this, or one more column in this table, so that I have more visibility to the case. So I selected that select field to display, and here it is. It's showing me so many different things. So it's showing me case reason, let's say, and I want to put case reason, and I also want to put case origin. So I just pressed command and then selected both the things, and I click on this. And here it is, like, both the things are here. I could change the order even, like I could see this, I could pick it up and take it up, wherever I want. I save it. Once I save it, it will automatically refresh, and then you'll see that, okay, the case reason is here. So in the real time, you are able to change or have the buckets. This is one of the ways how you can leverage the power of this table itself. Or you could also create a completely new one. Let's say you want to create a new list view, give a name that, okay, it's only today's case, or you want to only see, let's say, medium priority cases. Let's change it, medium priority cases. So because you just want to see how many cases I have medium priority. So once you enter a name, that automatically pops up here. and you have the flexibility of, as I said, talked about security. You have the flexibility of allowing your end users, whether they want to create a list view for themselves or they want to create a list view which is shareable. Like you could share it with other users at the org level. You could give that flexibility or take out that flexibility from your end users, and you could only restrict this functionality to be modified by your admin. So I'm logged in as an admin, so I have all the flexibility at this point of time. But then, as I said, you could change it. But let's save it. So as soon as you save it, it by default put in some of the fields, and we just discussed how we could change or have more fields in it. But here by default it shows my cases. I can change it to all cases. So my cases is where if you look at this field, case owner, the case owner is what defines my cases. So if I'm owning the case, if I'm the owner of the case, then it shows you my cases. We'll talk about the ownership model in a while, but just understand if it is my name, it puts it automatically into my cases. So you have other things, all cases, you have my case teams, you have queue on cases, all these features are there. I'll talk about also queue. Queue is how we are going to bucket it. So let's, for the purpose of today's discussion, let's select all cases. I want to just done, and then I add a filter. So what is it I want? I want only medium priority cases. So I'm going to select priority and equals, and as soon as I select medium, all done, and I save it. You'll see immediately everything get refreshed and only medium priority cases. So this is how you modify the list views, and you go through all those parameters, and then you could create as many list views as you want. That is how you jump in and then go into the individual cases. Let's now jump into a case and then talk about details of the case. So let's say I jump into this case. You could see there's a window here which shows me the recently opened my list view that I have created. It shows you have the option of not, if you don't have enough real estate, you could get rid of this, but then this is a really good feature in the service console, which is definitely not available in the Lightning app. Where you do is that you just collapse it, or you could get it back, and then you can switch between the cases. And then on the case itself, you have so many different sections you see in the same case. You have the case detail in a snapshot. You have a contact, who is the contact, the person who created or who asked for the service request, and if there are some other related cases of that particular contact. So that is also here. So we could customize, we could have very simple flexibility having all those other parameters here as well. But this is a standard feature which gives a lot of information to the customer. That's why we have created this way. And here it is a component of knowledge, which we will definitely talk about in the later sessions. And look into this middle section. Here is what you're going to leave and breathe. And this is the beauty of the service console and the feed view, is that it shows you all the updates that has happened to this particular case. So you can see that, okay, the case was created by the system, then somebody sent that email, that case, we'll talk about that in later. Then once it is created, what happened, like somebody attached an article or with the knowledge. So all the updates that happens, whether there's an email sending or whether it's any other update that is being tracked in here. We have some collaboration platform here, which is called Chatter. Here you could collaborate with your team members. You may have supervisor who is going to look at or probably trying to get a help, or from an expert. You could just type an at and then start typing the name. It will automatically appear with the person name. You can tag and then ask your question, and then post it. So as soon as you do it, it automatically tags that person and then put a notification for that person, so that that notification, the person can actually look at that and then answer your question. Then we have another section called email, where this gives, again, you don't have to switch to your Outlook or Gmail to send an email to your customer. So you are in the same platform, you're sending an email directly within the platform. You could have the flexibility that, okay, hi, customer, probably just type the name and then type it in something, or you also have the flexibility of using an email template. That's also there. We will probably deep dive into how to create those email templates in later sessions, but then this is where you do it, like you have insert merge template. So it also shows you if there is a recently used template. If you're using some template very frequently, it shows you that, or you could create a template and then insert them here. So both options are available. So you insert the template and you click send, and that will automatically send an email to the customer. And sometime if you're using, if you have call that come in, then you want to register that as an activity. So you spoke to the customer, or you're speaking to the customer. Actually, you are putting in some comments. Customer is not happy about this. All these things that you want to put in, it automatically puts in. You just start typing it in, and then it register that. And once I save it, this is stored on the case. So if I'm not there, and then sometime next time somebody else picks up this call, they have enough information about what has happened with that particular customer. So this gives the flexibility to the agent to have very well collaboration and updates to the case itself. And then comes another parameter where it's again, we call it as a quick action. As I gave you some hint about what is a quick action and all. So this quick action is like, you might have 10 fields or 20 fields on the case, but then you just want to increase productivity of your agent by just giving or asking them the bare minimum things to be filled in to start with before they go in detail and then start working on the cases. Because in the morning they come in, they are smashed with a lot of cases. They have to make sure that they are doing, or at least doing the first response to the customer, updating the right status of the case, and then go in and then subsequently work on other cases. And then when they go time back, they revisit those cases and then probably resolve it as much as they possibly can. So here you can, as I see, there are a few things you can include in some other items if you want. You can close it, you can in progress, you escalate, on hold, you could customize your field values in it. And you save it. So obviously once you save, again, this is what is going to appear. Then we have another feature called on the same component detail. If you want to just see more detail of the case and you want to categorize this particular case as a problem feature request, you could again have flexibility of customizing it, having more values in it. It's a problem, and the reason of the case could be the product defect or payment issues or anything on that aspect. So if it's a product defect, I just want to, or probably return, product return, and I save it. So I save it, and I also have a section here called internal comments, which is something that is only available for the agents. If you're exposing, let's say, on this case, if you're exposing this case on your customer portal, then they would not be able to see those comments. I think that's a separate section where we will discuss about the community features, and then we could see how we could benefit out of this one. So these are the basic sections, and I think one of the items that I did not touch upon is the global actions. As I said, as soon as you receive all these things, like the very common user flow would be somebody calls you up. The first thing that you do is search that particular customer, right? So the customer is, let's say, called up. You ask the first question as an agent. You ask the first question, "What's your name?" They give you the first name. As you start typing, Salesforce is smart enough to give you that result as you type first three letters, and it's not only name. You could pick anything out of most of the things in Salesforce, and that will kind of retrieve the result from Salesforce, like phone number, email address, anything that they have. You type it in, and then that will retrieve the result. You could go to the customer and particular customer, and then create a case from here. Or from here, there's so many ways and means how you can create a case. As I showed you, one item is directly from this tab, or it could be this tab. But also, let's say you are on a mobile, or you are here quickly, you want to access something quickly, and you want to create a cases quickly. So there is a feature called in Salesforce called global action. There are a few global actions here. Once you click on new case, it opens up the basic again. The basic is it just needs to have a status. You could search the contact here. You don't have to go to the contact by search on the top and then click on another button. What you're doing here, you're reducing your number of clicks, and that's how you're increasing the efficiency of your agents. You select their selecting the contact name, they're putting, because they are on the phone, they're selecting this name and then putting the subject, return order, put some description, order has defects, whatever, and then you save it. So you save it, it gets created. You can see immediately it pops up here. You can go in there, and if you want to further classify it, you could classify. And if somebody else comes in, they can see all those items. I know we talked about a lot of things now. We just are left with 7 minutes now. I just don't want to spend a lot more time on it. I'll probably open the forum for questions very quickly. Just before we go in details, I just want to show one last thing. This is a related list here, which essentially shows you everything that is related to the case. It could be some activities, there were more activities, or there could be some merging of the cases. Some happen. All those items would automatically be appearing here, which we'll probably discuss in more and more detail in subsequent sessions. But the whole session was today to give you a brief about this application, how to land on and see some things on the entire platform. I think I missed out a few of the things over here, which we will discuss in next session, in what is this omnichannel is, how you're going to make yourself available, and then the routing mechanism that happens. The case gets routed into a particular agent with the skills, with the capacity, and how you can use some of the other improvement or productivity features to increase the efficiency of your agents and resolve customer requests. With that, I'll probably pause and open the forum for any questions you guys might have. Okay, so there is a question from Craig that can we have multiple sales paths for different services that a case team move between depending on the services that suits them over time? Yes, there is a different, as in that we don't call as a sales path. There is a support process that we establish at the back end, which allows you to go through a different case life cycle, so as to say, if you have different stages, different things, so you can follow those different items within by establishing the support process. So in short, yes, you can have your different processes within Salesforce. Hope this session makes sense to you guys, and tune into the next session in subsequent weeks to deep dive into different features that we could leverage out of this platform and out of this service console to gain more and more in-depth knowledge of Service Cloud. Unless if you want to reach me out, I'll probably share this document somewhere, as in probably we'll have a platform where we'll share this, maybe on the LinkedIn. And you can also find me on LinkedIn if you want to ask any questions on this, or you want to talk to me on any of the items, how to leverage more power of Salesforce Service Cloud. Feel free to reach me out on my LinkedIn platform, and it would be LinkedIn at, for me, the naming would be Bibhu Pati. So you should be able to find me. Okay, so if there is no further questions, I'm going to stop this session now. We'll hear you guys next time. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy.